Welcome to the Weekly Bark, where ordinary people are talking about extraordinary things. Sit back and enjoy the ride. The Weekly Bark.
Welcome back to the Weekly Bark. One of the focuses of this podcast is to celebrate ordinary people who do extraordinary things to make the world a better place. The unsung good people of the world who tend to fly under the radar. And my guest this week has dedicated his life to doing just that. Robert Kistner is a longtime high school football coach who has been coaching and mentoring student athletes for better than 15 years. He has had several championship seasons under his belts and has players go on to play at the collegiate level as well as in the NFL. He has now moved over to Victor Valley College, where he is the defensive coordinator, and while his accomplishments on the gridiron would be enough for a podcast in and of itself, that's not why he came in today. Back in 2016, Kistner's oldest son, Ryan, was diagnosed with stage 4 Ewing's-like sarcoma when he was 19 years old. Ewing's-like sarcoma is a childhood bone cancer that is extremely rare and often misdiagnosed until it gets into its later stages. In this podcast, Coach Kistner explains how his family dealt with the diagnosis, how they were so moved by the community and the support they received from the local community that they wanted to give back, so they started the Ryan Kistner Foundation, whose mission is to spread awareness of Ewing's-like sarcoma and to award 2 scholarships each year to local student athletes. Hey, welcome, Coach Kistner. Thanks for coming in today. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here.
Well, I guess I wanted to start and talk a little bit about your oldest son, Ryan, and the Ryan Kistner Foundation. So could you tell the people who have never met Ryan or may not know who he is?
Well, Ryan graduated of Oak Hills High School. He was in the first 4-year graduating class. So, he was a student here. He was an ASB, won Mr. Bulldog back when they used to have that. Anyway, he was couple years out of high school and started having some hip pain. And so we're like, oh, and he had an old football injury. He actually kind of went and played over at a junior college there with his brother, just kind of for him and his brother to have kind of that time together, you know. He kept talking about this hip pain he had and all that. And then me and his mom, my wife, Kate, we noticed when you get in the shower, you get that cough. And I remember we looked at each other and said, man, I don't like that cough. And we're like, hey, Ryan. He goes, oh, it's just allergies and all that. Well, kind of one thing led to another. And he went to the doctor and he thought it was bronchitis. And we all did. And the doctor, it's probably bronchitis. They gave it some medicine to him. And he said, if you don't clear up in a couple weeks, come on back. And so a couple weeks come, he didn't clear up. My wife goes, hey, Ryan, you want me to go with you? And he's like, yeah, sure. And it was Easter because we were going to have Easter dinner. And so we go to Kaiser, and he takes an x-ray of his chest, and he's like, hey, you need to go down to Kaiser Fontana right now. And it took a while to get the diagnosis. I think it was 10 days in the hospital, but he was diagnosed with Ewing's-like sarcoma, which 1% of the population get it. So it's one of those 1 in a million type of things. Mm-hmm. And it's a cancer that is when you're made or I'm trying to think of the word. I had it in my head for a minute there. But it's a chromosome. It's 2 chromosomes that float over, and they'll meet up in the womb. And some people get it, some people don't. They really don't know much about it because not a lot of people get it. So by the time we got the diagnosis, it was Ewing's-like sarcoma, and he was stage 4.
And eventually succumbed to the disease.
He eventually, they had chemo, which chemo was tough. That was tough. We'd go down there, and he'd go. He'd be in chemo for 3 days. He'd have 3 days straight of chemo, and even the chemo people, they're like, "Wow, we never seen this much given." But he would be out for a week, and then he'd go in for 2 days, and then we'd be out. Then we'd have a longer stretch, and chemo was really tough. The treatment was very aggressive because when we found out what it was, between the time it was diagnosed and the time they figured out what it was, all right, so we had a problem, and then when they diagnosed it, this is what it is, it grew a quarter of its size, the cancer. It's very aggressive, and it's predisposition to go into the lungs. So, that's kind of, our story. He wound up passing away in January 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And, I tell you, if you lose a kid, you miss them every day. There's no doubt about it.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Even though he's never in my class, but he had such a huge impact here on campus. I remember as going through it with all the teachers and staff here, everybody was pulling for him as he was going through all the treatments and. I'm not saying he was a angel because, but, everybody seemed to really like him and he was, he's just all around kind of really good kid. Well, I'll say it. I mean, I can say it as a non-biased. Both of your sons have been really impressive young men. So
thank you.
That's a testament to you and Katie. I mean, great parents, great kids. So how did the foundation come about from that?
Well, during our struggles, we were just, really overwhelmed with how everybody just, the outpour of just generosity, the outpour of prayers, the outpour of just, good wishes and good feelings. And, it took a while, probably about a year afterwards, we just really wanted to give back to the community. And we really appreciated, what everybody has done here at Oak Hills, where I work. And at the time, my wife worked at Serrano High School, which you would never think that, those two high schools, because, we were bitter rivals, especially in football. But they did a lot of outpouring there too. So we wanted to give back to both those communities.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the mission of the foundation.
Well, the foundation is really to, raise awareness about Ewing's like sarcoma or even Ewing sarcoma. Because, everybody's like, oh, he has cancer. And everybody thinks like cancer is cancer. And there's thousands of different cancers out there. I didn't know that until, my son was diagnosed, right? And and Ewing's, if it's, the survival rate is slim. A lot of times what happens is if they find it, if it's in your leg, because it grows on the bone, it's a bone cancer. And where Ryan had it, it was inoperable because it was on his hip. But sometimes, like if it's on their shin bone or whatever, they'll just amputate the leg to try to save. And sometimes it works. So we just want to really raise awareness, raise early prevention. You definitely don't want to have the prevention at stage 4. Find the diagnosis then. And so that is, and then it's really just to give back to the community, and just kind of show our support, and also so Ryan won't be forgotten.
And do you guys do a couple of scholarships, right?
We do 2 scholarships. We talked about maybe doing more than one or whatever, but we do 2 scholarships, and they one goes to a Oak Hill student and one goes to a Serrano student. The last 3 years, we gave away over $30,000 in scholarships. It's a $5,000 a piece scholarship, so it's a pretty hefty thing, but we know how it is, because I remember when our kids went off to college, it's like, whoa, the expenses and you know what, so we just kind of look for that right kid to give it to, really. And
you have an event that's like your main fundraiser, and that's coming up, the 5K.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
We have a 5K. We've had it every year, even with COVID. We did it virtual. And we're amazing. managed to raise money. And, we have the 5K every year. It's just kind of like one of the first things we've done. We kind of stuck with it. And we have it here at Oak Hills High School. It's going to be May 7th. It's just a good time. We come out, we make it fun. It's and we'll do a 5K, we'll run it. I get a bunch of support from, everybody like Nick Iglesias and those guys, to help us set it up and run. And it's always been a really good event and a lot of fun.
And you can we can see a ton of pictures of that and as testimony on your website, which is the RyanKistnerFoundation.com, right?
Correct. Yeah, and you can sign up there too. There's a registration event plays for registrations. You can sign up. It's $35. We give out medals for the top 3, and we give out shirts as long as supplies last. And then we also this year we're raffling off a Yeti cooler. It's one of the little roadie things. We're 24. So we're raffling that off at $10 a ticket or $25 for 3 tickets. And so we got, and it's filled with little goodies like, adult beverage here and then, some soda cans and stuff like that, so, but.
Well, that's fantastic. And if people can't participate in the 5 or 10K, they can still donate on the website.
Absolutely. You just go to the website, it's Ryan Kistner Foundation website. There's a donate button. And, I can honestly say, all the money, it's going to go to, it's going to go to a kid. It's going to go to some kind of awareness. Like me and my wife are going to go over to the avocado run and set up a booth over there and give out pamphlets for sarcoma awareness and we're just trying to get the word out. We're not. Our board is 3 people. My wife's the president, my son's the vice president, and I'm the secretary. So that's a whole flip from how we run our lives type of deal. But and we try to raise around 13 to 14,000 because it costs a little bit to put on the event, and then the rest. But the 10,000, we're definitely as much as we have to give, we're going to give it.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Anything you want to let people know on before we end?
Well, you know what? I just hope you guys come out and support it. So it's on May 7th. I think 8:00, and it's a good time. We just really enjoy doing it. We really enjoy giving back, and just make sure that you kind of turn over every stone if something has happened with your kid, if you don't know what's going on with it. I mean it. So.
No, that's huge. Yeah, be your own advocate with your doctors. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And the thing about it is when they get older, you kind of give them more freedom. Sure. He was 20. At the time he turned 21. And so, but yeah, it's one of those things that trust me, you don't think it can happen to you until it happens to you, mm-hmm. and that's But we really should just appreciate everybody's support, and if they'd come out and run the race, have a good time, make new friends, see old friends, that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, I got my ticket. I'm not going to run it. I'll be walking the 5K. My days of running 5Ks are over.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of us, right?
But well, thank you for coming in today. I think, like I said, I know Brad, and I've seen Ryan when he was here on campus, and I can personally attest they're great human beings, and I'm glad my paths have crossed with all of you guys. So
well.
And again, sometimes life gives us, that curveball that we don't want to have to hit. But you guys have, I mean, it's really impressive because you took a thing that would be devastating for anybody. Like as a father, I know how devastating that could be. And you've turned it into something to where we try to make something positive and we're giving back to society. I think that's fantastic. I think that's exactly what's right in the world today. And so thank you for being part of that.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
All right.
The Weekly Bark.